is the number 17 in the country, guys. Braden Smith, they beat USC 90-72. It was a little bit of a blowout. There's really not that much exciting to talk about from the actual game beyond the fact that Braden Smith looks like the best point guard in America and is like sneakily, Tyler, putting himself in the conversation for National Player of the Year. I still think that he's third on that list, but it's not third by a huge gap. He's been as impactful as Cooper Flagg over the last 6 weeks. He's been as impactful as Cooper Flagg and John Ibram. I have no problem saying that. Purdue is now 11-2 in the Big Ten. They have won 10 of their last 11 games. The sole loss was a 3-point loss at home to Ohio State after they came back from the West Coast. They get Michigan on the road on Tuesday, Wisconsin at home, and then at Michigan State next Tuesday. So we're going to know a whole lot more about where Purdue is in these next 3 games. But I'm sitting here right now, Tyler, and I'm saying Braden Smith is the best point guard in the country. And if you have the best point guard in the country, you are good enough to make a Final Four.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. He's been unbelievable. And the one thing that Braden Smith does is he makes everyone around him better. When you look at Trey Kaufman-Renn, he's having an unbelievable year. And a big part of that is Braden Smith's ability to pass and put him in position. He is commanding Purdue. He puts everybody in their spots. He's hyping up the crowd. And his development is like a little bit of surprise because I didn't know his ceiling was this high. And I don't even think he's reached his ceiling. He's knocking down shots. Fletcher Lawyer, this whole team is contributing to his growth and what he's bringing to Purdue. And Purdue is just kind of one of those teams that's kind of flown under the radar. They win the Big Ten, they're going to be talking about maybe them being a 1 seed when it's all said and done. And that's going to be a little surprise. Matt Painter's done an unbelievable job, but I'm with you. Braden Smith is the best point guard in the country this year so far.
Yeah, Matt, how much fun do you think Payton is having coaching this dude?
I mean, look, man, they scored 90 points today and shot 23% from the 3-point line. Like, think about that. 90, like, you think, okay, they hung 90 on him, and it's like, hey, man, it must have been banging them home from 3. Like, it's going up, it's going in. And they scored 90, shot 23%. I've said this before, and I will say it again. 2 years ago, when they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, there was a lot of pressure put on those 2 guards. And everyone was saying it was not Zach Edey, back-to-back National Player of the Year. The reason that they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament was because of Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. And the fact that those 2 guys have been able to block all that noise out, get to a national championship game last season, and then everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? They're going to lose Zach Edey. Oh, they're not going to be the same. They're going to have a down year. We had some people on the field of 68 that counted this team out. I remember our Hot Take show back at ACC Media Day. I remember. I'm not calling people out, but I remember people saying that this team's not even close to as good. They're not going to get to a Final Four. They have no chance. They have no chance to win a Big Ten championship. They're just average. They'll be an average team at best this year. I remember some people in our group, our family, we don't have to call anybody out, but I remember some people counting this team out, and those 2 guards, they've been through enough. They can will their team to victory. I think the bigger question is who's the best team in this league? Like, I mean, for at one point we thought, well, Illinois has got the most talent. They've dropped some games here. Is it Michigan? Is it Michigan State? Michigan State goes on the West Coast road swing. They go 0-2. Like, who's going to write? Purdue sitting here saying, hey, man, we're just going to keep chopping away. Just keep doing our job, keep chopping away, keep winning games. All of a sudden, we'll be at the end of February here, could be in first place. It's really impressive.
Imagine betting against, like, UCLA sitting right there, too, with won 6 in a row and playing some of the best basketball in the conference. I want to hit you guys both on this because I think when we talk about Coach of the Year and talk about that conversation, it's generally speaking who is doing the most with the least expectations, right? Like, what coach do we think was going to finish at the bottom of his league and now is finishing top 3, right? What coach do we think was going to be an NIT team and now they're sitting here like top 12 in America? I don't think it should be glossed over the coaching performance for Matt Painter this season. They lost a generational talent. Like, Zach Edey is probably the best college basketball player that I've seen doing this. And I've been doing this. My first year doing this was in Tyler Hansbrough won his title, right? and he's right here in a position to win the Big Ten again. Like we got to put some respect on that, man. Like the job that he's done this year, Matt, I want your take, and then Tyler, you could take it too. The job that he's done this year should never, ever get overlooked. It's been an unbelievable coaching performance.
You know what? I had a conversation with him right after I was let go from UMass, and he said to me, he said, you know what? He's like, I'm fortunate because I had an athletic director and an administration that was patient. And when my first 5 years as a head coach, I didn't know who I was. I had no idea who I was. I was going to chase after all the McDonald's All-Americans and, go do this. And I had to figure out who I was and who I could coach and who I could, be the best version of myself and coach. He's got it figured out. Like his whole program, that is culture. When you lose the back-to-back National Player of the Year and you're sitting here and in mid-February, you're at the top of the Big Ten standings at 11-2. That's culture. Everyone wants to throw the term culture out. They want to throw it out, and we're going to be about this, and these are our core values and whatever it may be. But when you lose a guy like Zach Edey and the ship just keeps moving down, it keeps moving down, and everybody in your program knows all the things that you're about, that's culture. And no question about it. He should be Big Ten Coach of the Year. So should Tom Izzo. He should be in the same category. I know they had a tough week going on the West Coast road swing. But the fact that he's still doing it, and Tyler alluded to it earlier, just in terms of how hard they play, how tough they are, the things that they're about, it's impressive to see these two guys. You don't ever hear them complaining about transfer portal. You don't hear them complaining about NIL. They just coach their teams, and they're ball coaches. And it's really impressive.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off that. Matt Painter is one of my favorite coaches in college, and I saw him a few years ago, I think is at the tournament, and I went over and I said, I love watching your team play. And he's like, why is that? Because we go inside? I said, absolutely. And, he deserves to be in that conversation, and he is right there with anybody when you talk about Coach of the Year. And for me, as kind of an old school type of person, I love that he has hard practices. I love how he prepares, and you can see it through his team. And when they did lose to the 16th seed, I thought he handled the loss about as classy as anybody could. He stayed there after in the presser, answered everyone's questions, and then he comes back the next year and takes that team to the national championship game and gives them a chance to win it. And he has built culture there. He's put his stamp on that program, and he is up there with one of the best coaches. And, Coach of the Year candidates, he's right there with anybody. I think John Shire's up there. And there's another coach I really like, Calvin Sampson. I don't ever think he really gets the credit he deserves. I love watching Houston. I think Houston plays about as hard as any team in the country. And Pitino, I'd put all those guys in the Coach of the Year candidates.